they're gone. And you say, well, I can control that. No, you can't, because that thing is so powerful. Just this week, I've talked with 2 different people whose wives have gotten into heroin, and their wives has taken things out of the house, sold it, stolen out of their wallets, taken their stuff to go buy drugs, to the point that their whole household is being bankrupted. And children have been swallowed up in this country by the Hare Krishnas, by all these different cults that are out there. They run away from home, disobedient to parents, wind up in New York City, wind up in the city, get drugged into prostitution, become drug addicts. That's the way that the pimps hook them. They give them drugs. Then they become dependent on the pimp for the drugs, and so they got to do what he says to do. And this isn't going away. You saw in the news just this last week where the Washington, D.C. madam hung herself. And we assume she hung herself. We don't know, because we don't know what politicians and what bigwigs and who was her clients. The corruption of this nation, you see. And so, what can be done? Deuteronomy 28, we're going to lose our kids. We're going to lose our marriages. We're going to lose our homes. We lose our cars. It says over there that your I don't know what it says, ox or donkey, one of them is going to be forcibly taken from you, right from your sight. That's got to be an awesome sight to be sitting in your house, hear some noise out front, and you see a wrecker out there hoisting up your car and driving off with it. Bankruptcies. I'm telling you right now, if I believe with all my heart, if we'll do what God's calling us to do, if we'll stay under the protection of the shadow of the Almighty, if we will obey His commandments, if we will walk in the covenant of His love. He loves you. He's not against you. He's not the one that's killing you. He's not the one that's giving you disease. He's not the one that's causing you to plunder and pollute your life. He came to save you and to rescue you from the mess that's out there. And with love, He went to the cross and died so that you could live. And there, on that cross, Galatians 3 says, Galatians 3:13, Christ hath redeemed us from the curse of the law. That's Deuteronomy 28, the curse of the law. Being made a curse for us. For it is written, Cursed is every one that hangeth on a tree, that the blessings of Abraham might come on the Gentiles through Jesus Christ, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. Now, that promise of the Spirit, I guess that could be the promise of the baptism of the Holy Spirit, but then it was the Holy Spirit that was sent to lead, guide, and direct us into all truth. So it could mean there that the promise of the Spirit to lead us into truth would come upon us, and that by faith we could operate that truth and know the blessings of Abraham. And Abraham was a blessed man. Abraham was surrounded by God's favor. You can be surrounded by God's favor. Let's look at Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Were their lives torn apart? Sure it was. They lived in Israel. And their families were torn apart. They were drug off to a foreign land, a foreign language. But these 4 individuals refused to compromise. And because they refused to compromise, that even in the midst of the turmoil, they were elevated and put into positions of great honor, worth, and prosperity. I believe that if we will do what we're supposed to do, that even in the midst of hard times, God will fulfill His covenant to you and me, and we will be able to secure the things which He has given us. We are to worship Him first, not the things. You can lose everything, but maintain your soul and still be a rich person. But we need to be obedient. You know, with our young people, the ones that we have in the school, you know, sometimes I just want to pick them up by the shirt and slap them and say, what is wrong with you? Here it is, set right before your eyes. You look around and you see all the stress, the turmoil, the heartbreak, the evil, the sickness, the disease that's being unleashed in the community, and God has promised you, look at me. See, you shouldn't have people look at you. Well, why not? Paul said, look at me. Let me be an example to you. And each of you should be living your life so that somebody could look at you and read you. That you can be an example, somebody that a young person can emulate and build their life around. Look at the blessings of God that is ours when we obey Him. Look at the joy and the fulfillment in living that is ours when we obey Him. Now, I want you to have faith. Jesus said when you see all this stuff happening, what did He tell you to do? Right over there, I read it. He said, look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. Don't be looking here. Look up. Look to His holy hill. That's where your help comes from. From Zion. Out of Zion. Out of Zion's hill will flow our deliverance. Look up. Don't get swallowed up in the O'Reilly factor. Don't get swallowed up in Hannity and Combs. Don't get swallowed up in the evening news. Looky. It's bad. I'm telling you it's bad. Jesus said it's going to be bad. But you are in this world, but not of it. You have a covenant that is different from those people on the outside. You say, well, God's not a respecter of persons. He is not a respecter of persons in that the call goes out and says, all may come. Come and dine. The Master calleth. Come and dine. You may feast at Jesus' table all the time. Jesus has a table spread where the saints of God are fed. To the hungry calleth now. Come and dine. The call went out across the earth to every person. And you got these people going, no. But others say, yes. And the Spirit of God encompasses them and blesses them and sets them on high. He will set us on high because we have known His name. The name of the Lord is a high tower, and the righteous run into it, and they are safe. I was once young, and now I'm old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed out begging for bread. Pat Robertson, in his book, The Secret Kingdom, said that he talked to a man who had served as a soup ladler in the Great Depression. We just studied a little bit about the Great Depression in history class on Friday, and how people just lost everything, but they'd put their hope in gambling. They were buying on the margin stocks. They believed that stocks was going to go up forever. Not to get into a big thing on stocks, but stocks are only worth what the corporation's worth. And if you're paying more for the stocks than what the corporation's worth, you're in trouble. And these people were doing that. They were gambling. They believed the stocks was going to go up and up and up and up forever. And so they were buying on margin. They'd go to the bank. They could buy the stocks for only 10%. They'd borrow from the bank in hopes it was going to go up. They'd sell. They'd pay the bank off, and they'd have money. Well, that worked for a while. And then the whole thing came tumbling down. People jumped out of buildings. People went in their cars and ran garden hoses from the exhaust into their windows. People shot themselves. People died because their God was money. You know why I believe that happened? That was the end of the Roaring '20s. America had always been a wholly decent nation up until World War I. And for the first time, we sent a major expeditionary force out of our nation, and they went to France. France was a perverted nation. France is a perverted nation. And France will continue to be a perverted nation until they get saved. And so the song came out. How you gonna keep them down on the farm after they've seen Perry? You know, the idea behind that is, hey, they were over there in Paris. They were drinking. They were cavorting. They were prostituting. They were doing it all. How are you ever going to satisfy them back there on the farm growing corn? And as a result of that, we wind up in the 1920s for the first time. We have women rebelling against husbands and the order of family, cutting their hair off, bringing their skirts up, smoking, drinking. Prohibition was in effect. It was illegal to manufacture and sell intoxicating beverages, but it wasn't illegal to drink it. So people were willing to take the risk, like Al Capone and others, to make the stuff and sell it because they could make a lot of money on it. And the people didn't mind because they wasn't going to get in trouble for drinking it unless they drank wood alcohol, which was being sold as ethyl alcohol, which killed them dead on a doornail.